10 more of the biggest names in college football for 2024. Of course, Kirby Smart's one of them. I didn't mention him the other night, not because he's not one of the top 10. It's just that we have plenty of time to talk about these things. Is Kirby Smart the face of college football? Is my question to you. Because I think it's kind of TBD. He is leading the #1 program in college football. If I were power rating head coaches, I think I'd have him #1 in college football. But is he the face of college football? Like when a problem arises, will the mics all go to Kirby Smart to speak on it? Does he want them to go to him to speak on it? Well, either way, he's a big name. But if the spotlight that used to be on Nick Saban either gets splintered and he gets part of it, or it just kind of redirects over there to Athens, Georgia, Kirby Smart can end up rocketing up the importance power ratings of college football. His team will be there either way. But yeah, Kirby Smart, let me finish my sentence or I'll get sidetracked. Kirby Smart's one of the biggest names in college football. It was pretty easy. So I was on with Aaron Murray and T-Bob Hebert the other day, and we were talking about Ryan Day. And I made the point that I believe, and I said, hey, man, Ryan Day's like 5 years ago's Kirby Smart. Keep this up for a second, Colin. Immunity. Dang it. And my point there was everyone's forgotten what they used to say about Kirby Smart. You got folks praising him as the king of college football these days who once upon a time said things like, he can't win the big one. Kirby can't get over the Saban hump. As you're looking on your screen, those things would have been said right around there, 2020. And then all of a sudden, 2021 happens. Title. 2022, yawn, another title. And no one said that about him anymore. It can change that quick. And what changed about Kirby? Answer, not much. They just kept chopping. They just kept doing what they do. Ryan Day at Ohio State will be the same way. Dude will eventually win a title. And all of a sudden, Colin will have a graphic like this, and there'll be 1 or 2 little red bars there indicating national title wins, and no one will hate on Ryan Day anymore. Search your heart. You know it to be true. Next up, Ryan Day's not even on the list tonight. I just segued to Ryan Day. Next up, Dillon Gabriel. Yes, the quarterback at not Oklahoma, but Oregon. He's surrounded by talent. Bo Nix is leaving a big void out there, which is a sentence in and of itself that we didn't think would be saying a few years ago when he was imprisoned down at Auburn still. Not literally. I don't want the NFL draft types to think they just uncovered something there. But Bo Nix was underdeveloped at Oregon, or at Auburn. He goes to Oregon, they fully utilize his skill set, and he explodes. Well, then he leaves, and Dillon Gabriel steps in. And he's not stepping in to carry the entirety of the load. A lot of good receivers up there. I mean, a lot of them. Just picked up Evan Stewart as well. So Dillon Gabriel could be instrumental in the way the Big Ten championship race plays out and the national championship race plays out this year. And that's about all it takes to get on the list of biggest names in college football this year. Next up, I want to go to Miami. Mario Cristobal is one of the most important names in college football this year. 2 reasons. Number one, they've got one of the most skilled rosters in a major conference, therefore they should be a factor in that conference race. Number 2, there's this massive debate that happens and is happening in college football right now, and that is Mario Cristobal a great recruiter? Is he a great game day coach? Is he both? Is he one? Is he neither? And this fall will be instrumental in shutting at least one of those camps up. Because this year, this 2024 year, is one that pretty much everyone inside the walls of Miami has had circled. They feel extremely confident about the team they're going to have. They went and got the quarterback piece in Cam Ward, so they feel good about it. All right, so on one hand, that's optimism. On the other hand, it means, hey, no excuses. If you fall flat this year, no excuses. And that's a beautiful thing because that's how competition works. So Mario Cristobal, because if he answers the question in the affirmative, well, you'll have him establishing himself at Miami and establishing Miami as a power player. You got a 12-team playoff this year, and they could be a part of it. And that's a really big deal because that would be a major brand returning to the party. Miami as a playoff team. Just sit on that for a second. Miami as a playoff team. Next up, what about Jalen Milroe? Lot changed at Alabama recently, not Jalen Milroe. And I'm very interested as they open spring ball in a couple of weeks down in Tuscaloosa to start to see how Milroe fits in Kalen DeBoer's offense. And So there are two schools of thought on this. One is Jalen Milroe is who he is, right, as a player. And then there's another school of thought, kind of the Bo Nix school of thought, or the Michael Penix Jr. school of thought, where not comparing the players, but I'm saying for broad strokes purposes, you saw those guys in different systems do much different things. So, and one of them actually was plugged into DeBoer's system in Penix. So Jalen Milroe plugged into Kalen DeBoer's system. How different does he look? This is still Alabama. It's a still really, really deep roster. They're still one of the favorites to win the national championship. He'll be an integral part, obviously, of whether they can do that. What about Tim Lester? How many of you, whomst amongst us, that's the new offensive coordinator at Iowa. And because he's the new offensive coordinator at Iowa, it's a virtual guarantee that he's going to improve his side of the ball. I think my sister would. And so, Tim Lester, how improved can they be? Because it's like when we talk about USC or we talk about LSU, what do we say? Can we get like a pulse on defense? Well, if you take that and you totally invert it, that is Iowa football. Doesn't matter who the starting 11 are defensively, you just blindly know they'll be really good. Tougher than a $2 steak, as Jim Ross would say. However, they may have to hold the opposition to single digits or else they get beat 10-9 because that's been the status or stat-I, because it's been several years, of Iowa offense. Well, if Tim Lester can even make them decent, just like at LSU with Blake Baker or D'Anton Lynn, the new coordinators on defense at LSU and USC, if they can even make those defenses decent, you got a really good team all of a sudden. Iowa could be a really good team, really fascinating team all of a sudden. They were already pretty good, but they could be really good if they could, score and stuff. Score and stuff. Not a bad name. Next up, Travis Hunter, one of the very best players in college football this year. How much will he play both ways? Just a selfish question I have. And number two, he's on a team that's one of the spotlight teams in college football for reasons that some of you like and some of you don't. Therefore, it's nothing but like for me because they're polarizing. But Travis Hunter is one of the faces of college football. And I don't know how anyone argues that, actually. One of the faces of college football. And also could be a player that's the difference in several games for Colorado. And as they join a new conference, he also has an impact in the Big 12, which wasn't the case last year because obviously Colorado wasn't there. And, if it's true that we're approaching a season where it's show me time for Dion as a head coach and for that program and the entire philosophy with which he's running that program, well, the face of his philosophy is Travis Hunter in many ways as well. So he's an important player. Cam Rising, entering his either 18th or 19th year at Utah. Who's been at Utah longer, Kyle Whittingham or Cam Rising? Tomato. It looks like apples to apples at this point. So Cam Rising, what's the dude's name in Lord of the Rings, Jesse? Jesse Lee? Jesse left, didn't he, Colin? He doesn't know. The dude with the long beard, you know who I'm talking about? Really long, like down to here? Oh, Gandalf, yes. Well, Utah Gandalf is about to gird up his loins and lead the Utes at quarterback yet again. And Utah is also joining the Big 12. And what if I told you that a certain college football show out there the other day did program power rankings and said that Utah is the best program in the Big 12 the moment they enter the Big 12? It was this show. I am that person. And so Utah could come in and quite literally win the Big 12 this year. But they can't. Well, it's unlikely that they do if Cam Rising doesn't play well. He was hurt last year, and so he's back again this year. And we pull for Cam Rising. Number one, because we respect our elders. And number two, because he looks a lot like Jesse. Suspiciously looks a lot like Jesse. And so for those reasons, we've always felt kind of a kindred attachment to Cam Rising. So we're pulling for him. He's an important name. And also Hugh Freeze at Auburn, one of the biggest and most important names in college football 2024, because it could go one of two ways to the extreme down at Auburn. We have seen Auburn as a program be a program of extremes in the modern era. And we've also seen Hugh Freeze do things that few other coaches have done, like beating Nick Saban back-to-back years. And went up to Liberty, won at Liberty, and is now at Auburn, and they brought in a top 10 recruiting class. They are, I think, in a lot of ways finding their way, is the best way that I could summarize what it's like inside Auburn right now. And that just leads to a lot of maybe concern, but just a lack of being able to fully put your finger on the football program. Predicting Auburn's like nailing Jell-O to the wall right now, as Meemaw would say. And so for that reason, the head coach of that program has got to be one of the most important names in college football in 2024. But also, if I told you 10 years ago, Nick Saban's going to retire a decade from now, so 2024, the SEC will finally be rid of Nick Saban, you would have said, well, whoever the coach at Auburn is at that point is going to be in a really good position. That's the time to strike. Well, it's Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze is at Auburn. Hugh Freeze just landed some in-state recruits that were really, really big. Cam Coleman, for example, really big get. Auburn wasn't landing those kids. I could not care less how they landed them. It's a different world today. Don't be using that stuff as an excuse, because you can do it. It's legal. And even if it's not legal, no one's going to police it, so it's legal. So Hugh Freeze, very important name.